All right, let's get this started. Um, Let me get it started. I want to read the book of Judith. At one time, I had the book of the Apocrypha, and I have no idea what I did with that book today. So what that means is that in order for me to read this book, ain't that a trip? I got to go online to read this book now. Makes it so much better when you can just have the book in hand and read it. Okay. Now, it says the book of Judith. But it probably was Judith, maybe because what we can say is that the letter J did not exist at that particular time. And so we're on chapter 1, and it says, now Arphaxad, king of the Medes, had brought many nations under his domination, and he built a very strong city, which he called Ecbatana, of stone squared and hewed. He made the walls thereof 70 cubits broad and 30 cubits high. And the towers thereof he made 100 cubits high. But on the square of them, each side was extended the space of 20 feet. And he made the gates thereof according to the height of the towers. And he gloried as a mighty one in the force of his army and in the glory of his chariots. Now in the 12th year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Assyrians, who reigned in Nineveh, the great city, fought against Arphaxad and overcame him. In the great plain, which is called Ragu, R-A-G-U-A, about the Euphrates and the Tigris and the Judith, in the plains of Erioch. I know I didn't say that right, but E-R-I-O-C-H, the king of the Elishans. Then was the kingdom of Nabuchodonosor exalted, and his heart was elevated. And he sent to all that dwelled in Cilicia, and Damascus, and Libanus, and to the nations that are in Carmelos and Cedar, and to the inhabitants of Galilee in the great plain of Esdraelon, and to all that were in Samaria and beyond the river Jordan, even to Jerusalem and all the land of Jesse, till you come to the borders of Ethiopia. To all these, Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, sent messengers. But they all with one mind refused and sent them back empty and rejected them without honor. Then King Nebuchadnezzar, being very angry against all the land, swore by his throne and kingdom that he would revenge himself of all those countries. In the 13th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, the 22nd day of the first month, the word was given out in the house of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, that he would revenge himself. And he called all the ancients and all the governors and his officers of war, and he communicated to them the secret of his counsel. And he said that his thoughts were to bring all the earth under his empire. And when the same pleased them all, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, called Holofernes, the general of his army, and said to him, go out against all the kingdoms of the west, and against them especially that despised my commandment. You see how men get when they have power. Thy eyes shall not spare any kingdom, and all the strong cities thou shalt bring under my yoke. Then Holofernes called the captains and officers of the power of the Assyrians, and he mustered men for the expedition as the king commanded him. 120,000 fighting men on foot, and 12,000 archers and horsemen. And he made all his warlike preparations to go before with a multitude of innumerable camels, with all provisions sufficient for the armies, in abundance, and herds of oxen and flocks of sheep without number. He appointed corn to be prepared out of all of Syria in his passage. But gold and silver he took out of the king's house in great abundance, and he went forth, he and all his army, with the chariots and horsemen and archers, who covered the face of the earth like locusts. And when he had passed through the borders of the Assyrians, he came to the great mountain of Age, A-N-G-E, which are on the left of Cilicia. And he went up to all their castles and took all their strong places. And he took by assault the renowned city of Melothis, and pillaged all the children of Tarsus and the children of Ishmael, who were over against the face of the desert and on the south of the land of Shelon, C-E-L-L-O-N. And he passed over the Euphrates and came to Mesopotamia, and he forced all the stately cities that were there, from the torrents of Mamre till one comes to the sea. And he took the borders thereof from Cilicia to the coast of Japheth, which are toward the south. And he carried away all the children of Madian, and stripped them all their riches, and all that resisted him he slew with the edge of the sword. Folks, this is war. People don't play in war. Unfortunately, we think they play. We think they play. But we don't understand what war really is, what it does, and how it operates. And after these things, he went down into the plains of Damascus in the days of the harvest. And he set all the corn on fire, and he caused all the trees and the vineyards to be cut down. And the fear of them fell upon the inhabitants of the land. Chapter 3. Then the kings and the prince of all the cities and provinces of Syria, Mesopotamia, and Syria, Sobel, and Libya, and Cilicia sent their ambassadors, who, coming to Holofernes, said, let thy indignation toward us cease, for it is better for us to live and serve Nebuchadnezzar, the great king, and be subject to thee, than to die and to perish or suffer the miseries of slavery. I think this sounds like many of us here in this country. Fear just grabs and grips a hold of us, and we're just so scared. We don't want to free ourselves. We'll just take it up the butt. Let me move on. All our cities and our possessions, all mountains and hills and fields and herds of oxen and flocks of sheep and goats and horses and camels and all of our goods and families are in thy sight. Let all we have be subject to thy law. Both we and our children are thy servants. Come to us as peaceable lords, and use our services as it shall please thee. Then he came down from the mountain with horsemen in great power, and made himself master of every city and all the inhabitants of the land. And from all the cities he took auxiliary, valiant men, and chosen for war. And so great a fear lay upon all those provinces that the inhabitants of all the cities, both princes and nobles, as well as the people, they went out to meet him at his coming, and received him with garlands and lights and dances and timbrels and flutes. You see how people behave when they are in fear. They dance before their enemy, and they act like clowns. And though they did these things, they could not, for all that, they could not mitigate the fierceness of his heart. For he both destroyed their cities and cut down their groves. For Nebuchadnezzar, the king, had commanded him to destroy all the gods of the earth, that he only might be called God by those nations, which could be both brought under him by the power of Holofernes, a mighty warrior. So he felt as he is. And when he had passed through all Syria, Sobal, and all Apamea, Apamea, and all Mesopotamia, he came to the Idumeans, into the land of Geba. Idumeans, Edom, Esau. And he took possession of their cities and stayed there for 30 days, in which days he commanded all the troops of his armies to be united. Then the children of Israel, the Hebrews, who dwelt in the land of Judah, Yehuda.
Diamond House event space.
Unique Diamond House event space. May I help you? Hello?
Hi, I'm Miss Diane. I'm fine. Button down you while I'm driving.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
headed to the house now. I had to go over to my auntie's house to pick up the spaghetti. So I'm headed back to the house with all that stuff I had to go do. I had to get in the line at the Myers. They
Yes,
had a long
ma'am.
line holding me up.
Okay, my love.
God. This why I don't do parties, because you know this stuff be crazy.
Okay.
I'm about to go to the house so she can help do the balloons, and then after she do that or whatever she call herself, we're going to head up there.
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
going to start setting stuff up. You know,
Yes,
we'll talk
ma'am.
that time in a minute.
Okay, babe.
But still, you know.
It's okay. All right. I'll see you when you get here.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye. I'm recording and didn't know that. It says, and the children of Israel coming down from Bethulia came to him. And loosing him, they brought him to Bethulia, and setting him in the midst of the people, asked him, what was the matter? That the Assyrians had left him bound. In those days, the rulers there were Ozias, the son of Micah, of the tribe of Simeon, and Charmi, called also Othniel, Gothoniel, and Echor, related in the midst of the ancients and in the presence of all the people, all that he had said, being asked by Holofernes, and how the people of Holofernes would have killed him for these words. And how Holofernes himself, being angry, had commanded him to be delivered for this cause to the Israelites, that when he should overcome the children of Israel, then he might command Echor also himself to be put to death by divers torments, for having said, the God of heaven is their defender. See, you people don't understand what hate is. You throw the word hate around and enemies around like it's such a little soft word, but you don't know what hate is. You don't know what it does. You don't know how it operates. And they sure kept the books away from you so that you wouldn't figure it out. And when Echor had declared all these things, all the people fell upon their faces, adoring the Most High, and all of them together, mourning and weeping, poured out their prayers with one accord to the Most High Yahweh, saying, "O Yahweh of heavens and earth, behold their pride, and look on our low condition, and have regard to the face of thy children, and show that thou forsakest not them that trust on thee, and that thou humblest them that presume of themselves and glory in their own strength." So when their weeping was ended, and the people's prayers, in which they continued all the day, they got you so occupied. They got us occupied. They're trying to keep our attention. They don't want us to study the word. Matter of fact, they kept that away from us, but they want to keep your mind occupied. So you can't figure out what's going on while they're in preparation to make war on you. You sitting somewhere, like some little frog in a pot. You don't think nothing wrong. You don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? That you're too preoccupied when you need to be trying to figure out how to prepare for what they're getting ready to do to you. It says, so anyway, it says, so when their weeping was ended, and the people's prayers, in which they continued all day, was concluded, they confronted Echor, saying, "The God of our fathers, whose power, though thou hast set forth, will make this return to thee, that thou rather shalt see their destruction. And when the Most High God shall give this liberty to his servants, let the Most High be with thee also in the midst of us, that as it shall please thee, so thou with all thine mayest converse with us." Then Uzziah, after the assembly was broken up, received him into his house and made him a great supper, and all the ancients were invited, and they refreshed themselves together after their fast was over. And afterwards, all the people were called together, and they prayed all night long within the church. They didn't have no church. What the hell y'all put in that in there for? And they prayed all night, desiring help of the Most High of Israel. These people tickle me because our ancestors didn't have no dang church. And they insert this bull crap into our books and different things like that to trip you up and trip you out. You know what I'm saying? Have you going backwards. But we didn't have no dang churches. It says, but Holofernes On the next day gave orders to his army to go up against Bethulia. Now there were in his troops 120,000 footmen and 22,000 horsemen, besides the preparation of those men who had been taken and who had been brought away out of the provinces and cities of all the youth. All these prepared themselves together to fight against the children of Israel, the Hebrews, to fight against our ancestors. And they came by the hillsides to the top, which looketh toward Dothan, from the place which is called Bethlehem, unto Chelmah, which is over against Esdraelon. But the children of Israel, the Hebrews, our ancestors, when they saw the multitude of them, prostrated themselves upon the ground, putting ashes upon their heads, praying with one accord, that the Most High of Israel would show his mercy upon his people. You see, they get us so far away from our culture and the way that we practice, till we ain't doing none of that. We watching these old video games and doing all kind of evil and wickedness and sin and iniquity and everything. They want us to do that because they know, look, they can whoop upside of our heads. You know what I'm saying? And they'll win the battle over us. Mm-hmm. See, you don't know. See, they know. They know. They know what to do. See what I'm saying? But you don't know. It said, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. You got a whole bunch of lack of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You up in them churches and they ain't telling you nothing. You up in them churches, they not telling you the truth. It said, but the children of Israel, when they saw the multitudes of them prostrated, the multitudes of Holofernes' army, they prostrated themselves upon the ground. They put ashes upon their heads, praying with one accord that the Most High of Israel would show his mercy upon the people. And taking their arms of war, they posted themselves. Our people took arms and posted themselves. They took arms and posted themselves at the places which by a narrow pathway led directly into the mountains, and they guarded them all day and night. See, that's what our people did when somebody was coming to war against us. We got ready, okay? And when we got ourselves together, we could win the war, we could win the battles. But when we was at odds with the Most High for iniquity, they would win the battle. They know what's going on. You don't. I hope a lot of y'all get hip to what the game is. It says, now Holofernes, in going around about, found that the fountains which supplied them with the water ran through an aqueduct without the city on the south side, and he commanded their aqueduct to be cut off. Now that's part of the water wars. That's why you're wondering what's wrong over there in Africa, because they use water wars. They cut off the water and kill out the people. But you don't know that. You know, you think that, you know what I'm saying, it just got dry and lifeless over there, you know, just because it was a natural thing. No, we play water war games around here. Now, Holofernes in going roundabout, found that the fountains which supplied them with water ran through an aqueduct without the city on the south side, and he commanded their aqueducts to be cut off. Nevertheless, there were springs not far from the walls, out of which they were seen secretly to draw water, to refresh themselves a little rather than to drink their full. Now, I'm gonna let you know your enemies will cut your water off. They've been doing that here, cutting people's water off. They don't care about you dying. See, that's hatred. Hatred. You don't know what hatred is. You don't know what it does, and it don't give up. It don't care. It don't care about your feelings. It don't care about you dying. It don't care about you being hungry. You don't understand it. You play with it like it's a little software. You don't understand this operation. It said, but the children of Ammon and Moab came to Holofernes, saying, the children of Israel trust not in their spears. I want you to listen. The children of Israel trust not in their spears. The children of Ammon and the children of Moab told them that the children of Israel, the Hebrews, trust not in their spears, nor in their arrows, but the mountains are their defense. And they trust in their God, Yah. And the steep heirs and precipices guard them. Wherefore, that thou mayest overcome them without joining battle, set guards at the springs, that they may not draw water out of them. And thou shalt destroy them without swords, or at least being wearied out, they will yield up their cities, which they suppose, because it is situated in the mountains, to be impregnable. And these words pleased Holofernes and his officers